For today, what we're going to be doing is we'll discuss the implementation of plyometric training in football and hopefully provide some frameworks for its appropriate use within the overall physical development process for improvements in performance on the field or pitch. I currently work in the role as head of strength for the first team of AFC Ajax, but prior to this, I've also worked as the strength and conditioning coach for the 3-on-3 Dutch men's national basketball team, with whom we managed to qualify for the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, the Dutch men's national basketball team, as well as in various professional, academy, and private sector settings, and I've played a role in long-term rehab situations. The first thing we need to consider as we start discussing plyometrics, we need to appreciate an understanding of what these plyometrics truly are. So basically, we need to define what the term actually means. But besides a clear definition, we need to discuss why plyometrics are important and why we incorporate them within physical development for sport performance. After discussing these considerations, we'll proceed to discuss categorizing plyometric exercises, simplifying a complex training modality, and providing a framework for implementation within overall training program design. This leads us to the last part of the presentation, being the discussion as to when and how we should aim to develop capacity in these plyometric actions throughout the yearly calendar. Now, here in the second video, we have a different takeoff strategy where we have a semi-bilateral takeoff and landing, obviously emphasizing the front leg. The intent of the exercise is still to get off the ground as fast as possible while achieving maximal jump height, but there's visibly more joint deformation at the ankles, knees, and hips upon contact. So if I pause it here, we see far greater depth at the ankles, knees, and hips that we did or upon ground contact than we saw in the previous video. This elongates the ground contact time. If we see long coupling exercise as those with ground contact times in excess of 200 milliseconds, these repeated split stance jumps would generally be categorized in the longer coupling end of the spectrum, likely having a higher relative contribution of muscular effort to produce the upwards vertical displacement of the center of mass. We can easily see that I have a relatively long time to load up before projecting my center of mass off the ground in a forward direction. So we see a relatively long time to propel my center of mass forward. The second movement, however, the bounding variation, so the land here on my right leg and subsequent takeoff and landing on my left leg, this bounding variation, we can see a relatively short ground contact time. So right here we see a relatively short ground contact time and minimal joint deformation or high lower limb stiffness upon contact. Because of these factors, this linear hop to lateral bound would likely be categorized as a short coupling plyometric. One of the most influential considerations then becomes a differentiation between in-season and off-season training interventions. These are two very distinct phases of the year, and how we utilize plyometrics within those phases is very likely to differ.